That's what we are here to do. Wake up. You know, as we have this event that happened in Orlando, as I've mentioned in the past, I grew up in a family where we watched the world news every night, so I got to see suffering on a pretty regular basis. And the work that I've done as an adult has been primarily working with people who are in pain in some form or another. And I've come to, and I've spent a lot of time, like, how to make the world a better place. We've had the great avatars walk this planet. We have the great religions. What's going to make the world a better place? And I only have come to two conclusions. Waking up, everybody, the more the people that wake up, that starts to change the vibrational frequency. They've done studies about that, where people who are meditating actually affect the crime level in their neighborhood. So waking up, it seems like it's quiet and it's passive to be meditating, but that stillness, waking up to that which transcends us, is the most important thing that we can be doing with our life. And then expressing, giving our gifts. That the more we wake up, the more we start discovering our unique gifts and giving them in abundance with infinite generosity out into the world without being afraid. And that's what we're here to do. And that's what our vision is about. Is actually a theme for this month, by the way, is vision, is about waking up and giving. And what I love about the power of visioning is that it does both. It doesn't do just one or the other. It's not just focusing on what am I to give. Vision is also about who am I and what am I becoming. It's impossible to know the vision for your life without changing. So one person was asking me, or several people asked, can I really know what my vision is? And I think, yes, everyone here has a vision. We all have a vision. But I think sometimes our resistance to knowing our vision means, because the moment we know our vision, we start to change. We cannot be the same person we were yesterday when we've gotten that direct contact with spirit. We can have an idea of what vision is. We can have an idea of what we think what it might be. But when we get the direct contact, here's the vision for my life, I am now changed. I feel pretty passionate about the topic, and I never really put it in this context in my head before, but I've been living my life from vision since 1990, and it was a clear shift for me. Prior to 1990, some of you already know that I used the laws of creation to create the life that I wanted, which was to go to acting school, even though I'd never been in a play. I just had this mental idea that this was going to be a great job. I love the idea that you weren't sitting behind a desk, that you just got to hang out and play these different characters. It just seemed like play for a living, which I thought was a great idea. So I used our mental laws, visualization, affirmations, and I created it, got into a great acting school in Los Angeles, and I wasn't there for more than a semester when a deep soul within me said, no, it's out of alignment with who I am. And it was in that moment that I realized I could create whatever I wanted, but that doesn't mean I was in alignment with the vision for my life. So I went back to Virginia, and I was living with my dad, so I didn't have to worry about bills. Thank you, Dad. And I spent the next month basically sleeping, because I really recognized in that moment I had no idea what to do with my life. I could make stuff up, and I could make it happen, but that didn't necessarily mean that that's what I was supposed to do. But I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And I didn't know, at that point, I never heard of the word vision. I didn't have any sense of it. I just kept, the whole time I was sleeping, I just kept saying, God, what do you want me to do? I have no idea. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? It was that persistent question. I was not willing to move forward. I wasn't willing to just go get a job for the sake of a job. I was not willing to move until I knew that I had something to do with my life, that my life wasn't just here to hang out or make myself comfortable, because I already had that. I didn't need that. And so after about a month of just sleeping and asking, I remember just sitting there, I'm sitting on the floor, just contemplating, and I just suddenly had this experience of light. And I was at the New Thought Church when I was in acting school, I looked up a metaphysical bookstore, and there had been a New Thought Church attached to it. I walked in, and they're talking about oneness, the oneness of all religions. I'm like, oh, there's a church that talks about this? This is so exciting. So when I was sitting there, I just had the light of being in that church. I'm back in Virginia. I call up the minister, who has no idea who I am. He's new, actually. He just starts. And I said, I think I'm supposed to be at your church. Now, his church is maybe 200 people, but I didn't know then, but there wasn't a lot going on. So I think he was a little nervous about me moving my whole life cross country, so he asked me to do certain things for 30 days. I did them. Yes, I'm supposed to be there. So now I'm telling everybody I'm moving cross country to go to this church. Can you tell you how crazy everyone thought I was? For years I told them I was becoming an actress. Go to an acting school for a semester and say no. And then I moved back to Virginia. Now I'm moving back to the LA area to go to a New Thought church, which they never heard of before, which I never talked about because I just found it. And I'm moving my whole life across country. Nuts. They thought I was nuts. And the funny thing is it never impacted me. Like I could see why they would think that, but I was so clear that this is what I was being guided to do that it didn't upset me how strange it looked from the outside. I just followed it. And I think that's and I've never looked back. That's what knowing your vision is and following it. And as I've said last week, it has different phases. And then I got another one. And then, you just keep living your life. We keep listening. It keeps growing us. To me, vision is just, in essence, I was really being with that because when I wrote my email, I kept capitalizing vision. And I was thinking, why am I capitalizing it? And I recognized that for me, vision is another word for God. God is the vision of my life. God is the Christ self, the infinite self, the Buddha self that is saying, this is your highest self, Harriet. This is who you are becoming. And when you listen to your highest self, it will guide you. It already knows the direction it wants you to go in. It knows a general path, and it will guide us. Every one of us here has that. Right now, your highest self knows exactly who you are beyond just where you've come this far in your body, mind, physical experience. And when we listen to that highest self, it will guide us if we choose to listen. But we have to choose and demand to listen, and it will change us, like maybe ask us to move across country. But it's not just that it asked me to move across country. Here's the other part about visioning, catching a vision, because one of the questions that comes up a lot is, does that mean you believe in predestination? That you don't have a choice anymore? My experience is that I get a vision, but I don't get what I'm supposed to do with it. So when I went across country, I didn't have a job. I didn't know any. I knew one couple whose house I stayed at when I went to the acting school. That's all I knew. So I stayed with them. I didn't have any friends. And when I went to the church, it turned out they had a class for adults that went on for 3 weeks, which was fantastic, but then there was nothing. I'm like, what do I do here? Here I am. I moved across country for you. And then eventually they said, well, we do have a ministerial school. It was an independent, it's called Santa Anita Church for anyone. It's right across from the Santa Anita racetrack. Beautiful church. It used to be religious science for 40 years. They built a kindergarten through 8th grade, ministerial school, counseling center. Then they had apartments and a pool for people who low-income apartments. Beautiful place. Huge stained glass window. But not a lot going on for adults unless you entered ministerial school. I had no interest in being a minister, but I wanted to take classes, so I signed up and applied, and of course was accepted because they didn't have that many applications. Sorry. And there I met I always thought I was so cool because I drove cross country. Of course, my prayer partner and my best friend turns out to be someone who came over from South Africa, so she always beat me. And she became my carpool friend, and we are still great friends to this day. But I didn't know I didn't have a plan. I just knew I was supposed to be there. And for me, that's the way vision always works. When I got a call to be a minister, it didn't say be a minister of religious science. I had no idea when it said be a minister, what I was supposed to be a minister of, or what I was supposed to do with being a minister, or what I was supposed to share, or I didn't get any, it's like a generic guideline that gives you sort of a general direction, but it doesn't give you a map with all the stops along the way. We intuit it. And that's what visioning is about. It's about bringing us alive in the moment. A vision isn't, a goal is something that you say, okay, I want this, and it's something external to us usually, but it could be I want a new body. And the whole journey is about getting this, the thing, and there's a destination. What I've discovered about visioning is it has very little to do with the destination. last week I talked about when I actually became a minister and became a mother, which were two visions that I had. It wasn't a big moment because what I realized is I had been living that vision for years. It didn't just happen one day. It wasn't like an arrival date. A vision for your life is not an arrival date, although you may have a completion with it. It's a way of life. It's going to be working you every step of the way, and it's a mystery what that is, but it will change us. I was inspired by the title of this talk by a song that I discovered, and I don't know, does anyone know the musical Next to Normal? Good, because I don't either. But I found this song, and it's a song in the musical. I have no idea what the context for this song is, which makes it better, because I just got to interpret it the way I wanted it to. Because when I heard it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like the vision speaking to me, and it's speaking to all of us, because this is what living like a vision has been like. And we'll talk about it because it's not all good. I'm just warning you. I am what you want me to be. I am your worst fear. You'll find it in me. Come closer, come closer. I am more than memory. I am what might be. I am a mystery. You know me, so show me. When I appear, it's not so clear if I'm a spirit or I'm flesh and blood. But I'm alive. I'm alive. I am so alive. I feed on the fear that's behind your eyes. We'll get back to that. And I need you to need me. You have to want to live your vision. That reading from Anthony DeMello, part of the 6 pages that I cut out, was he was saying no spiritual teacher is going to force anyone to wake up because it is so uncomfortable. It is painful, and so it's never going to come in your face and say, you gotta do it. You gotta follow me. It's never going to do that. You have to choose. You have to make the choice over and over and over again, day after day. Just as we do spiritual practices every day, to be engaged in our vision is up to us. We take the responsibility every day. Am I going to be alive in my vision? Am I going to be engaged with my vision today? Am I in dialogue with it? Am I allowing it in my life? I need you to need me. It's no surprise. I'm alive. So alive. I'm alive. I am a flame and I am fire. I am destruction, decay, and desire. I'll hurt you. I'll heal you. I'll hurt you. I'll heal you. I am your wish, your dream come true, and I'm your darkest nightmare too. I've shown you I own you. And though you made me, you can't change me. I'm the perfect stranger because we're growing into it. We don't know it well, but who knows you too well? I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm so alive. And I'll tell you the truth if you let me. Try. I'm alive. I'm alive. That's been my experience of living vision. It's scary. And I think that's why we tend to waver on whether we really want to know what it is and whether we really want to commit our life to it, because it will change us. Everything that I said I could never do, it forces me to do. That's why it says I'm your worst nightmare. Because the exact things where I have my wall and say no, that's where it says yes. But it says also it's my wishes come true. My deepest desire is to be a place of unconditional love, to be a place of light. And yet I have all these conditions I didn't even know that I had or that I think was important. Well, they're not conditions, it's just who I am and how I naturally express. This is my arguments to God. It's how I naturally express. Why would Spirit want me to naturally express in a way that is my inherent personality? Because my personality is temporary, and it's trying to wake me up to show me that. Waking up. Wake up. That's what this whole process is about, is waking up. It's not just about getting what we want. So New Thought came along to shift us from victims to being empowered. It said, we don't want conditions to control us anymore. We don't want health, money, work, relationships to control us. We don't want old ideas of God telling us what to do to control us. We are here to be empowered and to say what we want and to create the conditions of the world that we want. But what we learn along the way is that also is a limitation. Because now I have to be in control. Harriet, the body, mind. I have to control everything that's happening, because as long as we're in a dualistic world, there's two things happening, and I'm constantly having to overcome the negative and speak out into the positive, which is a valuable thing. I'm not saying that's bad. But we also will find, as I found when I use these thoughts to become an actress, it's limited. I only know so much about myself, and I'm only willing to grow so much about myself. Because of myself, I never would have been willing to take this journey, ever. I never would have chosen it. I never would have even had when I went to that ministerial school, in fact, never even tried to be a minister. It wasn't even, didn't have a call, thank goodness, at the time. So it wasn't a thought. I was just taking classes for spiritual growth, which is all I could handle at that time in my life. But ultimately, when we start following this vision, what it's going to do, and it's what it's done for me, and I know it does for all of us, and for those of you who are already living your vision, this is just a reminder of how powerful this process is it breaks us down. Every step of the way, I can look at my entire journey since 1990, how every step of the way it broke me down to reveal more life. Where I was no longer, I could not be in control. My mind could not be in control. See, part of control is conditions have to be a certain way. When we start opening up and feeling into the pain, into the hurt, into those things in myself that I don't like, that I can't stand even. I mean, if you really let your mind go, describe the things that you don't like, you can be pretty negative, or at least I'll say I speak from I can be pretty negative about things that I don't like about myself. Very dark. Things I detest, then these very ugly words start coming up about myself. I hate this about myself. I think it's ugly. I don't like this. I detest the way I am here. And all these very violent, aggressive words about myself can start coming out. And so I want to control conditions. Well, I will control a condition so I don't have to feel that. Coming alive makes us feel those things. It no longer lets me shut myself down to those things I don't like about myself and say, you are going to feel this. You are going to go into the depths of the dark part of yourself, and you are going to come alive in there. You are going to find the beauty and the love and the harmony and the joy and the peace in those places that you are most terrified in yourself and in the world. So you are no longer living with protection and defenses, but with your heart wide open into infinity, where there's no more excuses to shut down your heart, to shut down our bodies, to shut down our minds, to shut down our energy. That we become more alive. This is why it takes incredible courage to live this path, because we have to choose. Again, it's never going to force us. It's never going to say, you have to do this. It's going to just be patient. When you're ready to do this, open into the pain, into the joy, and recognize there's always something more than that. There's always something deeper. And the other thing Anthony DeMello says in his talk is that nobody can teach you this. No teacher can teach you this. No book, no workshop. The only way you can know this is by your own willingness to say, I want to be alive. I want to live this vision. And I'm willing to go in and to realize that even in that pain, there's something deeper than that. There's something more real. And that's the happiness that he's talking about. Not happiness based on surface things, but happiness that is always ever present underneath all the mess of the world, all the beauty of the world, all of our ideas of good and bad. Under duality, there is this constant bliss. In Hinduism, it's called Ananda, which is why you hear a lot of Indian gurus with the name Ananda attached to whatever they are, because that's bliss. And what Yogananda says is for, like in Christianity, we think of love as the highest quality. And in Hinduism, bliss is the highest quality. They think love is a quality on the way to bliss, that we're all here to be full of bliss, full of delight in the midst of the pain. But that's just theory until you start really letting yourself feel that and know that and practice that. And the only way we can know that is by showing up and having the courage in our own life day after day, being present to our feelings, being present to the circumstances, being present to the pain as well as to the joy. And that's also where the deepest joy starts to come through. Now I want to just speak to the times when we're not ready. So I said I've sort of lived my life constantly by vision. And then a few years ago I said, well, I don't think I have a vision anymore because I thought I'd fulfilled it. But what really happened is I had taken this vision and I'd gone as far as I was willing to go with it. because I had a sense of what it was really asking, but I was just sort of shut down towards seeing it because I wasn't ready. And so I stopped, and I kept saying, well, I wish I had a vision for my life, but I didn't really want a vision for my life because I knew I'd have to change more. And the fact is I've changed quite a bit, thank you. I don't need any more. And I was kind of wanting a vision so I'd have direction. The vision's always a guiding light in our life, but I really didn't want to be guiding anymore because every guidance I've ever gotten has demanded so much from me, has demanded I die so much. I was tired of it. So I was asking, but not really asking, because I just needed the rest. So for a couple of years, I didn't really have direction or guidance because I wasn't aware of what my vision was, because I didn't really want to be. And then finally I was ready. And as soon as I was ready, bam, it was right back there. Here it is. And I was like, oh yeah, that's it. I haven't finished it. I know what I need to do. And I was ready. There's no judgment when we're not ready. There's nothing saying you're a bad person if you're not living your vision right now, if you're not willing to get totally passionate about living your vision now. Because there are times when we're not ready. There's a lot going on, or we're just exhausted from whatever, that we just don't have it in us to die one more time. Because that's what it is. It's always death for rebirth, for more life. It's death followed by rebirth. So if we don't learn compassion for ourselves in all aspects of our journey, we cannot have compassion for other people in their journey. Part of being a light is having compassion. It's not just this constant drive forward. Muhammad Ali died, and I don't know, did anyone get to see any of his memorial service? Wasn't it extraordinary? I didn't get to see the whole thing, but the diversity of religions and, it was just, his impact, I had no idea. I had no idea he was so connected with so many different faiths, including agnostic and atheist, and just an extraordinary human being. But I'm going to say, as a woman, sometimes I feel like I need to have that very male, like striving. I was going to say, be alive, but don't strive. Because I want to really say that striving isn't just that like adrenaline rush of pushing your boundaries. That's part of it. But it's also just allowing. The vision for me has been very much about allowing. I don't know how it always involves, but it's just me saying yes constantly. So I've given the example before where I had this call to be a minister. I'm at Agape. I still am not just introverted, but also shy. I don't speak. And we're at a Catholic church because someone's son had taken their life. And he was Catholic, so we were there to support her and the service. And there was a gang of us from Agape standing in the back. And someone turned to Reverend Joan and said, Reverend Joan, could you all pray for us right now? And we all got in a circle, and I completely freaked out. Because in that moment I thought, wait, being a minister means you're in a circle with a bunch of people you don't know and praying out loud? No way am I doing this. That was like horrifying. There's no way I was ever going to do that. And I remember this thought very clearly with God at the moment. I'm like, but I let it go because I'm like, well, God loves me and knows who I am. God would never ask me to do that. And I was very at peace with that because I am so sure how loved I am by God that it's not going to ask me to do something so against my nature. But obviously, it was just a few years later that I'm speaking in front of people, and because I was guest speaking before I ever became a minister, and I'm thinking, when did that change happen? And it wasn't any one moment. I can't say, oh, that's when I finally was willing to do it, or it was a big earth. It was this constant, gradual, okay, I can pray with one person that I don't know very well. I can handle that. Over the phone, who I can't see their face. It happened in stages, but that's the way the vision works. It's not constantly about, I'm going to aggressively push back this border. That can sometimes be it, but often just by saying yes, being alive with our vision, allowing it to guide us day by day by day by day. So it's not just a moment. It's every single day. It's working at us. It's changing our entire way of being on the planet. And that's why we are here. We are here to wake up beyond what we think we are. Although I think of all my personality things that I say, this is who I am. Do you have that about yourself? You say, well, I'm such and such because of my family, or I'm such and such because of my genetics, or I'm such and such because of my astrological sign, or I'm such and such because of my anagram number, or I'm such and such because of my numerology number, or whatever. Or my Myers-Briggs, because that's legitimate in our culture. Do you say that? Like, this is who I am. And we put this is who I am, and I will express from here. Ta-da! The vision will not ignore that. It does not care who we think that we are. And in fact, all those places that we're saying we're not, because we're everything. We are the infinite. We are made in the image and likeness of God. Was it you say? Someone said if we're made in the image and likeness of God, why aren't we all invisible?
That's right. Say that, yes. We're made in the image and likeness of God, why aren't we all invisible?
Yeah. That the infinite is everybody. It is everything. It has no limits. That's why it is all inclusive. So we have our focus. For some people, it's physical, emotional, mental. Ken Wilber tends to be expressed intellectually with his mind, and for him, being spiritual is about being able to hold infinite perspectives, because he says God's infinite. So God's infinite is all perspectives. So in some way, we have to try to understand, not agree with, but understand all the different perspectives, because they're a part of us. Everyone on this planet is a part of us. Everyone's a part of our heart and a part of our body. That demands death to really know that, to really know that we are all of it. I am the saint and I am the sinner. I am the abuser and I am the abused. I am the free person and I am the prisoner. I am all of it, where I stop having these boundaries of saying where I am and something else begins, because that's not true of any of us. We are here to wake up, and that sounds so wonderful, but it's very difficult. It hurts. Wake up and shine your light. We need to heal this planet. We need to heal ourselves first and foremost, and heal this planet. And what I generally find is they happen simultaneously. Give yourself to healing the planet, and you'll heal yourself. Give yourself to healing yourself, and you'll start healing the planet. But we have to do it. It has to be a priority. And that's, for me, why living our vision, there's no substitute. I believe that there is no substitute to knowing our vision and living in alignment with it. It's one thing to take a break from it or saying I'm not ready for it, but always that is why we are here, is to live our vision. We are supposed to know it. It's not a mystery. It is not a secret. You are supposed to know what the vision is for your life right now. You don't have to become any more spiritual. You don't have to fix anything in your life. Right now, your vision is available to you if you want to hear it, if you are willing to be changed. And by living and committing to that vision, you will become more alive every single day of your life. That's why we're here, is to become awake and more alive than ever before. Let's pray. How grateful I am for this aliveness that has no beginning and no ending, that has no borders, that has nothing to limit it, that has nothing to constrict it. There's nothing that says no to it. There is no other. There is no opposite. That this one power and this one presence is in, through, and as all creation, and yet transcends all time and space. It includes everything. There is nothing ever outside of it. It is impossible for any of us to be outside of this one life and this one power, this one presence. It is infinite vitality. It is never afraid. It is never scared. It is never alone. It is never not supported. It is never not loved. It is the opposite. It is always loved. It is always fully supported. It is always alive and awake, fully vital and energetic. Nothing to tire it out. This is the essence of who all of us are. This aliveness can be deep and abiding peace. Vibrant, delightful bliss. Wise, clarifying love. We do not need to stretch to be it. We just need to let go to that always already infinite self that is who everyone in this room is. It is more intimate with us than our very breath. It knows who it has been before we were ever born, and it knows who we are through our entire life. It knows every experience, thought, feeling, emotion that we have ever experienced. It knows everything about every relationship we've ever been in. It knows everything about every job, work, feeling. It knows everything about us and more. It knows all those things that we hide from ourselves. It knows all those things we don't want to see in ourselves. It is fearless. It loves us beyond what we can even begin to imagine. It accepts every aspect of our being without judgment, without condemnation. It loves itself as all of who we are. And as we know this about our life, we know this about our planet here today. That as we recognize this shooting in Orlando, we recognize that there is pain happening on this planet all of the time. There is suffering, there is violence, there is cruelty. We don't turn away from it anymore. We have the courage to open our hearts into infinity, to love beyond rational thinking, to be willing to be a healing light, to see the truth beyond all the pain, beyond all the anger, to see light. We have to stand in it, in ourselves, in our own life, to know it for ourselves, in order to know it for one another, to know it for this planet. We have to. We are being called to it. If we don't do it, who else will? We are the ones that are being called right now. The call has happened. Each and every one of us gets to decide whether we are answering that call this very day. And as whatever we decide today, we make a new choice tomorrow and the next day and the next day. We are actively engaged with the transcendent divine self in creating a world that works for everyone right now. And it is in this place that we hold those people who have been affected by the Orlando shooting and all the violent shootings on this planet. We surround them in compassion. As this particular shooting was focused on gay people, the gay community, we surround the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community in light and in love. There is no separation. We are them and they are us. There is no them and us. There is only one. And we see with our hearts wide open, loving, compassionate, we are one. We are one with all beings. With the shooter, we bless him. The ignorance, the anger, the pain, that he may realign and heal on the other side of the veil. There is no one outside of our heart ever. This is the way. This is the way to be woken, to be awake. We are it now. Of ourselves, we cannot do it. We surrender breath by breath into this vision, into this God self, into our highest self, allowing its power, its word, move us, heal us, transform us, so that we are the living light of pure Christ, of Buddha, of the I am that I am. Right now. Right now. Right now. In deep and abiding peace, I let this word be now, knowing that as it is spoken, it is done, and so it is.
So it is, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Amen. So